Hey there nation, welcome to the show. We help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander CheapSkate, and now it's time for another edition of the Ninth Saga. This is our ninth series of Ninth Age battle reports. This one's Ninth Saga battle report number 19. It is a 5,000 point battle that is fought between my buddy Smells Like Febreze of House Rain the Wild Hunt with his Sylvan Elves Forest Walkers army versus me, Commander CheapSkate, with my Legion of the Hellmouth of my Warriors of the Dark Gods army. So that's right, we're throwing it down again at 5,000 points. It just felt kind of weird playing at 45, so we decided to bump it to the full 5,000 and see exactly what it looks like when we throw it down into the Ninth Age. So that being said, we're going to play some background music, go to the army list real quick, and then we'll go right to the battle report. Alright ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to talk about deployment. As you can see here, we are fighting on a 4x6 table. We got lots of terrain set up. We're fighting pretty much in the middle of a township. We got standing stones left hand corner, buildings spread throughout, as well as buildings and hills spread throughout the entire battlefield as well. As you can see in this table, I'm also deployed on the near side of the board. My opponent Smells Like Febreze deployed on the far side of the board. So that being said, we'll talk about the individual units and where they're located at in each of the deployment zones. Alright, starting with the Warriors of the Dark Gods. As you can see, this is my left-hand flank deployment. I got Lord Tremendous, Harbinger of the Nine Ages. That's my Demon Prince. He's stocked up right behind my Shadows over Innistrad. That's my Vortex Fiend, having them kind of occupying the left-hand flank. The goal here is to have them move up the flank, deal with those Dryad units that are right across them, and then start flanking to the main meat of the army, which is basically those Tree Fathers as well as those Thicket Beasts, and try to kick those guys out as quickly as possible. At the same time, I also have my two units of Wasteland Warriors on the left-hand side of the Stormlords, right-hand side are my Dustmen. I decided to divide up my units into to make two infantry units to make two solid blocks because the last time I fought against Dark Elves, I was vastly outnumbered, especially considering I was fighting against Dark Elves. So I decided to spread out the points a little bit and also kind of have more units on the table so that way I'm not that outmaneuvered whenever I fight my opponents. The Dustmen on the right hand side also have the Banner of Filth, which will help me give me poison attacks, which will be very, very helpful because these Thicket Beasts have a really high toughness rating. And make up the right hand flank, I have the Bloody Nine, which are my 10 Wasteland Knights of Wrath. Those guys also have the Banner of Wrath too, so they will never lose their frenzy checks, which is pretty awesome as well. Their goal here is to kind of secure my right hand flank of my army, make sure no Dryad units can outflank me, and then try to like hold off as much flanking units as possible as well. And finally, deployed off the board because these guys are ambushers. Those are my vanguarding and ambushing barbarian marauders. Those guys are the Nightkin, and as the front there, I got my Osklander Jarl. That guy's name is Fleshdig. He's leading them as well, and so I can start rolling off on turn number 2 to see if they roll up on the table. So that pretty much makes the deployment for the Warriors of the Dark Gods. And for my opponent's deployment over on the far side of the table, as you can see, I make up his left-hand flank. He's got 2 units of 15 skirmishing Dryads. I believe these are the Courts of Winter as well as the Court of Autumns, making up these 2 left-hand units. Making up the bulk of his army, located right here in the center of the table, you have Sternbark the Hero, that's his tree father, located on the left-hand side. We got the Avatar of Nature, that Durthu, the Eldest of Ancient, right there in the center of the table. And then right next to him, of course, is that huge unit of Thicket Beast with the emboldening bows. So those guys have bows, I'm sorry, not bows, emboldening bows. Emboldening bulls are do with your intestines, I'm sorry. Those guys are packing the, also have the Thicket Shepherd aside there too, the Ballastander Bearer. So these guys have +1 strength, so they have strength 5, toughness 5. There's 12 of them. This unit is going to be absolutely devastating. I got to figure out a workaround to kind of deal with that unit as well. And finally, make up the right hand flank here. We got the Tree Father Ancient. That guy's packing 2 spells, the Lore of Life. And of course, we got the last 2 units of Dryads. They're 15 apiece with skirmishers. We got the Court of Summers as well as the Court of Springs located here on the right hand side. So with deployment done, we go directly to the top of turn number 1. Alright, so this is a picture after turn number 1 after the movement phase for the Warriors of Dark Gods. I won the initiative on this one, so I'll be going first. As you can see in this photo, I really didn't do much moving around. I maneuvered my flanking elements a little bit just so that way I can get them spread out a little bit, because I'm not in any rush right now to get in contact with those Dryads, and especially those Thicket Beasts in the middle of the table. My plan here is to try to weather down the flanks, take out the Dryad units at both sides, and kind of sweep in and kind of fully envelop my opponent's center, and hopefully beat them through combat res, through outmaneuvering and hitting them in the flanks. So that's pretty much the plan on this one. Here's a close-up of Lord Tremendous as well as my shadows over Innistrad, just kind of making their way through this village on the left-hand side, just kind of slowly taking their time in order to outmaneuver my opponent. Both the Stormlords as well as the Dustmen don't do any moving whatsoever. They just kind of stay exactly where they're at, because I'm not in any rush to go after those Thicket Beasts, because those guys are devastating. And finally, here's a close-up of my Bloody Nine. They're right here on the right-hand side. Just kind of scoot over a little bit more to the right-hand side, so that way they get more coverage and protect my flanks more. And with moving over, we go directly to the magic phase. During the magic phase, I managed to get 2 spells off. First one was Break the Spirit. I just cast on that unit of Thicket Beasts, so that way those guys that can drain just train test every single time they move, because my plan here is to try to whittle that unit down as much as possible before they actually get engaged with my troops. So that's why they got that little 1 die there to represent that they have -1 to hit in close combat, and also they gotta take dangerous train tests every single time they move. And I also got my second spell off, which is Totemic Summons. I got Sam, so my little my little totemic creature there, right in the back edge of the table there, is located right there, and he's just going to line up to cause some chaos on that part. So with Magic Phase over, we go directly to Shooting Phase. And in the Shooting Phase, I decided to use Sam's Breath Weapon, Magic Kill off 5 Dryads from the Court of Winters, which is actually pretty cool because, you know, free kills is pretty much what's going on with that one. Since none of my units are engaged in close combat, there is no combat phase, so because of that, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 1 for the Civil Death. Alright, so here's the bottom of turn number 1 for the Sylvan Elves. This photo is taken from the opposing side of the table, so that way you can see what my opponent Smells Like Febreze is looking at when he's actually fighting me in this battle court. And as you can see in this photo, pretty much the entire Sylvan Elven army just marches forward as quickly as possible. Each of these guys have a movement of 5, so they're moving up 10 inches, and they just kind of fly across the board because this is a Forest Walker Spirit army, so because of that, they need to get engaged in close combat as quickly as possible. So yeah, it was totally underestimating how fast these guys really are. As you can see, here's a close-up of the Court of Springs and Court of Summers, as well as the Tree Father, Coat the Will Lord, making right towards my Chaos Knights, and now I'm starting to realize that maybe having my Chaos Knights by themselves might not be a good idea, because they're outnumbered significantly in this part of the board. And in the center table here, he marches up his Thicket Beast as well as Durthu, the Eldest of Ancients. He does take 1 wound for dangerous terrain tests on that unit of Thicket Beast, but these guys are packing 3 wounds apiece, so not much to be afraid of there. And over here on the right hand side, the Court of Autumns, they move up 10 inches between that building as well as the hill to get ready to engage my Vortex Fiend. And finally, the remnants of the Court of Winters charges directly at Sam, the newly summoned Totemic Beast, and engage him in close combat as well. Unfortunately for my opponent, there was no magic phase for him because I managed to shut down all of his spells, because he only knows 2 spells, and he's only a level 1 wizard on that part. There is no shooting in this army because this is a Forest Walker army, and so now directly to that, we go directly to the combat phase. And as you can see in this photo, the Court of Winters had no problem whatsoever killing my Totemic Summons, and they just drive, and then they turn around, do 180 to reform, because that's pretty much what they do. So that being said, we go directly to the top of turn number 2 for the Warriors of the Dark Gods. Alright, so this is turn number 2 after the movement phase of the Warriors of Dark Gods. As you can see in this photo, I decided to take the risk and to start charging. I decided that I wasn't going to let him fight at my terms. I wanted to engage him very, very quickly. The plan was that hopefully my monsters on the left-hand flank could destroy their respective units and then sweep left and start hitting into the Thicket Beast as well as to Durthu, the Eldest of Ancients. At the same time, my plan was also sending my infantry units to deal with Durthu as well as the Thicket Beast. As you can see, I got my 2 units charging right there. And I also decided to send up my Knights of Wrath and send them directly at that that first unit of Dryads at Court of Springs, because the plan was to kill those guys, overrun, and then run it into go to the Woodlord and take him out as well. You can also see on the backhand side there as well, my unit of Barbarians also arrived with their ambushing special rules. They also vanguarded up, and now they're in perfect range to start throwing tomahawks and ninja killing some fools. So with that being said, that pretty much makes it the move phase. Alright, so here's a close-up of my shadows over Innistrad charging directly into the Court of Winters, getting those guys directly into close combat. My goal here is to try to destroy this unit, hopefully overrun it, and then start flanking out the Thicket Beasts on the right-hand side. And here's a close-up of Lord Tremendous charging into Sternbark the Harrower, and those two guys will be interesting to see how that combat goes. On this slide, you can see my two units of Chaos, sorry, not Chaos Warriors, my Wasteland Warriors. But you have the Stormlords charge directly into Durthu, the Eldest of Ancients, and you also got the Dustmen engaged with the Thicket Beasts of the Troop of Dust Till Dawn. So we'll see exactly what happens in that combat phase. And here's a close-up of my Bloody, the Bloody Nine charging directly into the Court of Spring, and we'll see how that combat goes. And finally, here's a close-up of my Nightkin with Fleshstick kind of charging in, not charging in, actually ambushing from the rear, and also vanguarding up as well, so that way they can start throwing some tomahawks. With that being said, we go directly to the magic phase. Unfortunately, I rolled Snake Eyes with the magic phase, so I lost focus, so I wasn't able to cast any spells this turn, but during the shooting phase, I opened up with my tomahawks, throwing the axes from the Nightkin into the back of the Court of Summers, and managed to kill about half that unit. I think I killed, no, sorry, not half that unit, sorry, I killed 5 Dryads in the process of doing that, brought that unit down to 2/3 strength, which is also pretty epic as well. My plan here is to have these guys charge their next charge phase into one of these 2 units of Dryads and then start taking those guys out as well. So with shooting phase over, we go directly to the combat phase. And as you can see in this picture, the shadow over Innistrad had no problem whatsoever steamrolling right over those Dryads. What ended up happening is they ended up killing 7 Dryads, sorry, not 7 Dryads, I killed 6 Dryads. I just had an amazing combat phase, rolled perfect 6s on my attacks, I had 9 attacks go off, I rolled 6s on my stomps. I killed a good handful of Dryads, basically one because of combat resolution. They broke, I pursued, I overran 9 inches and destroyed that unit, and now it's my little Venolith Vortex Beast is now free to kind of roam around and cause havoc wherever he needs to go. So that pretty much makes the combat phase on this side. And close combat went pretty awesome between Lord Tremendous as well as Sternbark the Harrower. Managed to put 4 wounds onto that Tree Father, and luckily for me, the Tree Father was unable to cause any wounds back. So once again, just showing you how awesomely powerful this Demon Prince is. So that makes it the combat phase. I was hoping to kill this guy and kind of have him take off so that we can charge directly into Durthu the Eldest of Ancients, but you know, I'll take whatever victories I can get at this point. And combat on this side of the board ended up being a draw for the most part. And the reason why is because I have the Gaze of the God special ability, which means that my characters have to issue out challenges if they're able to do so, in which case my Battle Center Bearer had to issue a challenge to Durthu, the Eldest of Ancients, so those 2 guys squared off. It was no contest, really. Durthu had no problem whatsoever just curb stomping my fighter into his baser elements. Just from his attacks alone was enough to kill him, let alone do combat stomps. But luckily for me though, the only thing that really helped me out in this fact was because those 2 guys fought into a duel and he killed my champion, my Battle Center Bearer. The unit as a whole was able to stand its ground and not really worry about fleeing at that point, so that part was kind of nice. However, combat on this side between the Dustmen as well as the Troop of Dust Till Dawn did not go according to plan at all. I originally had this unit planned out to use poison attacks because they get multiple attacks with their, they get 2 attacks apiece for base, they got 3 attacks with their champion, they get additional attack because they got paired weapons, so I figured, you know, yeah, this is a unit that's high toughness, but with poison attacks it should be able to do it. And I did actually do several wounds, auto wounds with my poison attacks. However, when it came to the armor saves, a lot of those saves were just, you know, basically done because they get these, not only do they have a really good armor save, about 4 up I believe, but they also have a really good 5 up ward because they're otherworldly as well. In the end, I only managed to kill 1 Thicket Beast. I managed to put out the 2 remaining floating wounds that was caused by the dangerous terrain test. Managed to kill that guy. They in turn killed 9 of my Dustmen when combat got over with after stomps and everything else. Needless to say, I had to automatically break on that part. I had no Battle Center Bearer to reroll leadership tests, so I fled back 9 inches. They charged forward 10 inches and pursued and destroyed the Dustmen and killed them all to the man. So things are not looking very good in the combat phase for me. However, combat phase between the Bloody Nine and the Troop of Spring went exactly according to plan. Managed to kill about, I think, 6 or 7 of those Dryads, beat them through combat resolution as well. They fled 10 inches, I pursued 11 inches, and because that run that unit down and charged directly into Coedil the Willowlord. So now that that Tree Father Ancient is now engaged in close combat, which will be really, really helpful for me as well. So while some of my plans did kind of come through on the flanks, that center combat to my Dustmen and those Thicket Beasts did not go according to plan. So now I have to start thinking of a new strategy because my plan is kind of falling apart at this point. So with that being said, we go directly to the bottom of turn number 2 for the Sylvaneth. And here's a picture of the bottom of turn number 2 after movement for the Sylvan Elves, and as you can see, pretty much units start moving around, basically just repositioning themselves. And the reason why that is the case is because some of the elements have actually gone past the main battle line or where these guys are fighting from, so they got to react to this. First of all, as you can see, on the flanks especially, we have a lot of dramatic movement taking place with those Dryad units. We'll talk about that in the close-ups. At the same time, the center, the Thicket Beasts to a combat reform to turn 180, so that way they can start recharging things in my battle lines. As you can see in this close-up, the Troop of Summer, basically what they did is they kind of did a quick march away from my Barbarians, did a quick combat reform and turned around and go 180, so that way if I do charge into them, I'm going to have to charge right through that pit of spikes. Do you see that little fortifications? So because of that, my infantrymen will have to take danger terrain tests to go through it if I decide to charge with them. So kind of like a little sneaky trick that my buddy Smells Like Febreze pulled. And here's a close-up of those Thicket Beasts pulling a really quick combat reform to turn 180, and that unit is absolutely devastating. I'm terrified to go up against it, and they got a clear line of sight to charge directly into the flank of the Stormlord. So if I don't do something quick and get rid of Dirt through the Eldest of Ancients, I'm going to be having to suffer a flank charge from these Thicket Beasts, so things are not doing so well over there. And over here on the right-hand flank, you have the Troop of Autumns, I believe. They charge directly into my Shadow over Innistrad. And of course, Lord Tremendous is still engaged in combat with Sternbark the Harrower. Now, unfortunately for my opponent, his magic phase is very weak sauce. He only got 3 dice. Total, I got 2. I also managed to channel another dice as well. So because of that, his magic phase is pretty much shut down. Since this is a forest walker army, there is no shooting phase. So because of that, we go directly to the combat phase. And as you can see in this photo, that Dryads had no problem killing the Shadow over Innistrad. Between all their attacks that they had, they managed to put the last 4 wounds onto my Vortex Fiends, so that was actually kind of depressing on that part. So they do a quick little combat reform in order to face the flank of Lord Tremendous now, which is actually kind of scary. Combat between Lord Tremendous as well as the Harrower. Sternbark the Harrower actually went pretty well my way. Managed to kill that guy, overran, charging directly into the right flank there of Durthu, so now those 2 guys are engaged in close combat as well. However, the combat between my Stormlords as well as Durthu ended up being a draw. He killed 7 of my guys in the end after his stomps as well as his attacks as well. We managed to put 4 wounds onto him, and when it kind of ended up being a draw is what it ended up being. I forget how the calculation worked out, but both units are pretty much stuck engaged in combat and not really going anywhere. And at the same time, for my Bloody Nine, they managed to put 3 wounds onto Coedil the Willowlord. They beat him through combat resolution as well as the number of wounds they pushed on him, so because that he had a break. He failed his break test, ran forward about 7 inches. I pursued, I ran about 3 inches, so now there's 4 inches behind him. So this is kind of good because that means in turn number 3, if I can get a successful charge off, I'll be able to rover run and kill this guy without any problems. So with that being said, we go directly to the top in turn number 3 for Wards of the Dark Gods. And as you can see for turn number 3, most of my units are engaged in close combat anyway, so there's not much movement going on. However, I did make some significant charges. I charged in my Barbarians to that fortification straight at the Dryads. At the same time, I also charged in my Bloody Nine. Here's a close-up of my Stormlords as well as Lord Tremendous still engaged in close combat with Durthu, the Eldest of Ancients. And as you can see in this photo, I declared charges with my cavalry, managed to overrun and kill Coedil the Willowlord, so that guy is now ran down, and that's one less Tree Father for me to worry about, which is pretty epic. And here's a close-up of my Barbarians charging into the Court of Spring. As you can see, I also had to take dangerous terrain tests because I ran across those fortifications in order to do it. I lost about 1/3 of my force in the process of doing that, so looking back now, it was a pretty bad idea to actually do that, to actually have those guys charge through, so oh well. Hopefully my Barbarians will be able to pull through. I do have a Barbarian Chief. He does have the Axe of Battle, so there's a lot of attacks coming out of this unit, but at the same time, though, I'm also kind of worried that this might not go according to plan. So that pretty much makes up the movement phase on that one. Unfortunately for me, my magic phase is very, very lackluster, so not much magic going on there. So because of that, we skip shooting because everyone's engaged in close combat, and we go directly to the combat phase. Alright, as you can see in this picture here, we had no problem finishing off Dirt through the Elders of Ancient. Lord Tremendous was actually the guy that finished him off. So, killed that general, so that was pretty awesome. Did quick combat reforms. As you can see, I turned 180 on my Stormlords, so that way they could face the Thicket Beasts. So if they decide to charge, they'll be coming at me from the front. At the same time, that kind of frees up Lord Tremendous in order to get a flank charge off onto these Thicket Beasts. So that's pretty much the plan on this side. However, this combat between these Dryads and my Barbarians went absolutely horrible. I managed to kill 2 Dryads. They managed to kill 9 of my Barbarians. It was an absolute slaughter. So I had to automatically break. I have no Battle Standard Bearer in range. I had to flee, and not only did I have to flee, but I also flee like 3 inches. It was horrible. They overran, obviously, for the 10. Went past through me, destroyed my guys, and they end up on the other side of those fortifications. And the worst part is because these guys are skirmishers, they don't have to worry about taking Rangers terrain tests. So things are not looking good for my army at this point. And that takes us to the bottom of turn number 3 for the Sylvan Elves. And this is pictures taken after the move phase. As you can see, not much movement really taking on. Really on this side of the board, pretty much the Court of Springs just kind of does like a wheel type maneuver to head to the flank of my Bloody Nine. So those guys will be engaged here pretty quickly. And here's a close-up of that unit of Dusk Till Dawn, the Thicket Beast charging directly into my Stormlords. So that's going to be kind of an interesting combat because these guys are absolutely brutal. And here's a close-up of those Dryads from the Court of Autumns making their way towards the back where Lord Tremendous is located at. Unfortunately for my opponent, he has no magic phase because the only spellcast was killed. There's no shooting in this army because it's a Forest Walk army, so because of that we go directly to the combat phase. And combat phase, oh my god, the combat phase was an absolute slaughter for me. I managed to kill 2 Thicket Beasts. I killed the one that had a floating wound on it and one more on top of that. But these Thicket Beasts, man, they took it to me and they took it to me bad. They destroyed 10 of my Stormlords like they were nothing. I mean, it was absolutely insane. The stomp attacks, the regular combined attacks from this unit. These guys are strength 5, toughness 5. They got all these bonuses. Plus they got a Thicket Shepherd leading them as well. Had no problem whatsoever destroying that unit. They destroyed that unit, overran it, charged and to kill that unit, charged directly into Lord Tremendous, and now Lord Tremendous is facing this entire horde of Thicket Beasts all by his lonesome. And it's at this point that I basically call the game because I know exactly what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that these Thicket Beasts are going to kill Lord Tremendous. It's going to be absolute slaughter. All I'm going to have left in are my Bloody Nine. They're going to get swarmed by these 2 units of Dryads as well as the Thicket Beasts left over. They're going to get slaughtered too. So I decided just to kind of surrender at this point and just concede the game to my buddy who smells like Febreze. So this would end up being a defeat for Commander CheapSkate, but that's okay though. We're going to go directly to the after action report because this battle report is officially over.
I thought about staying. They offered me the chance to lead them, to teach them, to be king.
Uh-huh.
But my place is here, so I swallowed the juice, said the words, and here I am.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah. Basically.
Alright, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the after action report. This is the part of the battle report where we talk about what went well, what went poorly, and what we can learn for the next time that we do battle. This is the after action report for the 9th Saga, battle report number 19. It ended up being a defeat for yours truly. So let's go and talk about some of the losses that we suffered in this battle report. First of all, I lost Alcohol Telbrass, the Champion of Sneech, which is my battle standard bearer, the Shadow over Innistrad, the Dustman, Fleshstick, the Nightkin, as well as my Stormlords. Small like Fabreeze's losses was Dirt through the Eldest of Ancients, Coadel the Will Lord, Sternbark the Harrower, the Court of Springs, and the Court of Autumns. In the end, the reason why I lost this battle is because my forces were spread out too thin. It's as simple as that. One of the problems I had in my last battle report is that I actually had too many concentrated points. I was vastly outnumbered by my opponent, which is an army of Dark Elves, and I thought maybe I needed to, divide up my points evenly amongst different units and have more units on the table, more variety, and just kind of like, have more to actually offer on the battlefield. But when I did that, I actually divided up my forces too thin and made them all weak is what I ended up doing. So I had to think about going back to my list again and kind of fixing it up. I do miss having a 30-man unit of Wasteland Warriors with Market Change and Halberds again because that unit was actually really unstoppable. It really took a hit. I was pretty good at that part. Now, I know a lot of you guys are going to say, Commander CheapSkate, you have size caps. You can't have 30 Warriors with the Market Change or whatever. I know that there's a reason why the guys in the 9th Age put a size cap on everything, but I don't play that way. So my friends and I don't play that way either. And a case in point, my opponent for Smells Like Fabreeze's Thicket Beast unit, he didn't put a unit size cap on it because that's not how we roll. So I might have to go back and reconstitute some of my forces, think about making some changes and also like helping out as well. Also magic, another major problem that happened for me in this battle is that magic was almost a non-factor, both for my opponent as well as myself. I might want to diversify my magic a little bit because while the spell lore for the Path of The shamanism is powerful in the sense that you get some pretty good buffs, as well as put on some pretty good hexes for your opponents. It doesn't really have anything in terms of magic missiles or anything like that to kind of like cause long range damage to your opponents. So I might want to diversify my magic up a little bit as well. And another thing I want to talk about is those thicket beasts, man. Those guys with the emboldening bows are extremely tough. They have strength 5, toughness 5, 3 attacks on their bases. They got a battle center bear in that unit, as well as rank bonuses and stomp attacks. That is a hard unit to try to crack, but you know, I like the challenge, and so I'll see if I can figure out something to take those guys on as well. Once again, this was an awesome game, awesome opponent. I'm looking for the next one because I want to figure out if I can beat that thicket beast unit with something else next time. As always, you guys, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Your guys' input is always appreciated, and when you get a chance, check out our Facebook as well as Google Plus and Instagram for all the latest and greatest updates on our channel. That'll do it for this one, you guys. We will catch you again next Sunday when we alternate between these battle reports with our Age of the Realms, which are our Age of Sigmar battle reports. And as always, we got videos popping up on Wednesdays with Warband Wednesdays with Shades over Shadowspire, and we alternate every Thursday with Warhammer the Golden Age, as well as Tales from the Underhive, which are Necromunda battle reports. Alright, you guys, we'll see you guys in the next one. You guys stay classy.